Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now, this video is going to be me explaining the most powerful technique that we can use for opening our third eye or activating our pineal gland. And this is something that I learned early on when I was meditating. I learned meditation like 4 or 5 years ago, and it really changed my perception. And what I'm going to do in this video is explain the idea of the third eye from a new practical point of view, taking the woo-woo out of it so that we can really apply it, because sometimes there's like such esoteric or there's like such out there concepts that it's something hard to relate to. So the first part of this video is going to be me explaining it in a very more relatable way, and then from that point giving you the technique that I found that is just so powerful. And really it's an ancient technique that's been around for a very long time. So just to start this out, what I want to do is explain the idea of the third eye and understanding it from a more practical point of view, and it's really just seeing it like this. We have what are called our eyes, like our physical eyes. And the idea and the symbolism of this is that we see in a dualistic way, which means we have good, bad, light, dark, evil, whatever, and love. It's the idea that there's that contrast because we're seeing through a perceptual lens of duality, having and symbolized by the two eyes. Now, the idea is that the pineal gland, which is inside the brain, the third eye, once we open up that eye, it's like the attention goes away. We've transcended the dualistic nature of our eyes, of seeing everything as good and everything as bad. And when we transcend the good and the bad and the attachment to ideologies, the limiting beliefs that we might have, when we start to observe them rather than react to them, which a lot of times when we're seeing through those eyes and we're reacting, that's what we're doing, is we're reinforcing that reality. That's when we don't actually have our quote-unquote third eye activated. But the way that we can look at this is that when we begin to activate our third eye is when we let go of all those ideologies attached to dualism, attached to everything being good or bad based upon what we believe to be true. When we begin to do that, that's when we really begin to then shut off the reactive mind and we begin to turn on a more imagination. We begin to turn on more of the intuitive centers of our mind. And look at it like this. We are already connected to some higher source, whatever we want to call it. The only reason we might not be experiencing it is because there's too much mental chatter. There's too much conditioned beliefs. There's too many limiting beliefs and attachment to ideologies that are holding us back from actually experiencing that connection. So the first part of this is realizing that that connection is already there. It's just a matter of, are we tuned to it? Are we paying attention to it? Are we feeling the intuition? Are we feeling that connection? Are we focused on it? A lot of times we're more focused and immersed into the dualistic nature, into these two eyes. But if we simply understand that if we put the attention on the idea of the intuitive part of our brain or the intuitive part of how we can see things, tapping into that by feeling rather than thinking so much or rather than reacting so much, we then begin to tap into having more ability to connect to that. And that connection, like I said, is already there, but the way that we get rid of all that baggage, rid of all that noise, is by observing rather than reacting. When we begin to let go of those ideologies, we will naturally start to have that point to where we then see through our quote-unquote third eye. So I hope this explanation for you gives you a little bit more understanding before I explain the technique, because it makes you understand that that connection is already there. It's not about you having to reestablish it. It's more about you just opening it and being able to see through it. Now, the way that we open our pineal gland or our third eye is by simply, first off, detaching from the reactive and the reactivity of the dualistic nature of the beliefs, of the conditioning. And a simple way to do this is in meditation, and for this all you simply have to do is sit on the ground. You can do it cross-legged if you prefer. You can focus on your breathing, and as you begin to do that, and you can, something I do is I stare at a candle flame. I find that that helps my mind from wandering so much, because I find that when my eyes wander, my mind also wanders as well. So what I do is I just focus on that candle flame, And as I begin to do that, it begins to put the awareness more within an observer mode rather than a reactive mode. Now, the key to this is observing the thoughts while you're in that meditation. Observe the thoughts that come in. Don't judge them as good or bad. If you judge them as good or bad, or you resist them, it's still existing in that dualistic nature. Continue to observe them. Let it be okay that they're there. The more that you do that, the more that you find that those thoughts begin to go away naturally. Is that almost as you're not fighting them, they start to go away because you're not giving them energy. And as those thoughts begin to go away, you can then do this technique that I'm going to give you that I think has so much power. Now, understand, first off, that this is about really tapping into our imagination, because our imagination is kind of like the bridge to connecting to that higher version of ourself, like that quote-unquote idea. And as we use our imagination, that's where the power is, because when we're simply focused on these two eyes, that's where the limitations start, because then we're limited to only what we can see. But if we decide and choose that we're going to tap into our intuition, we're going to tap into our imagination, that's where we then begin to close these eyes and then open the observer mind, and then also the one that's connected to that energy already. So to do this, simply get into a meditative state where you start to observe your mind. As you observe your mind, and why this, all you got to do is you can either use that candle flame that I was talking about, or what you could do is just close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Focus on the sensation as you breathe in through your diaphragm and as you breathe out. And as you do that, you begin to bring the awareness into the body. And the more that you do that, you then get into like a present state versus more of like a reactive state or like a tense state. Focus on relaxing the forehead, relaxing the eyes, relaxing the face. As you begin to do that, you begin to get to a more relaxed state of being. And then what you can do is you can close your eyes. Now, when you close your eyes, you're automatically raising the brainwave activity. You're going from more of a beta state to an alpha state, because then you're shutting out like 70% of our perceptual awareness, which is our sight. So as you begin to do that, you already begin to put yourself in a state to where then you're able to have a deeper experience. Then what you're going to do is you're going to focus on moving your eyes almost up as if you were looking at an imaginary third eye that was inside of your brain. As you close your eyes and you look at that, what you are symbolically doing is you are putting the focus onto your third eye. Now, this is more of a symbol than anything else, but the power of imagination is amazing. So if you do that and you simply imagine that your eye is closed and the third eye is closed, and then you decide that as you are putting the sensation up to your third eye, up this direction, you then imagine that eye is opening. You imagine it's opening, and you do that over and over again. Now, the reason you're doing this, I want to really stress this idea, is it's because it's more of a symbolic type power. The power really exists inside of you. This is just a tool. This isn't even necessary. If you learn, and a lot of my videos are about this, how to let go of the conditioned way of thinking that we have, not to identify with the reactive mind, how to let go of the limiting beliefs that hold us back and to expand our mind, which is exactly what this channel is about, you then can do it already naturally. But this acts as a very powerful permission slip, because then it starts to get us to where we experience the full effect of the power of our imagination. So all you simply have to do, and this is a technique that's been around for a very long time, because they did this in India, they did this in other parts of the world. What they would do is they would get into a meditative state, they would point the eyes towards up, like cross-eyed going up towards the idea of the third eye. And what you can do is use your imagination to imagine that eye opening. And as you begin to do that and you begin to put the awareness within, become open to any type of experience that you can have. This could be the experience of sensations, it could be something visual, it could be something that you just feel. And as you begin to do that, you begin to tap in to more of that energy, to more of that connection that already exists now, but that has been cluttered up by the reactive mind. So with that being said, realize a lot of this is symbolic. The idea of a third eye is symbolic of that connection that we already have. And when we begin to see that, we might find that certain things that are toxic to us, maybe even foods, that's something I recommend too, is taking fluoride out of the diet. You'll see that certain foods, like processed foods, get in the way. In the same way that's toxic of the foods that we put into our body that we can get rid of, we can get rid of the toxic thoughts that kind of clutter us up to where we can't feel that connection. So learn to let those things go. Learn that the power is really within. This is a powerful tool, but even more powerful than that is the power within you. Know that. If you believe that and you know that, that will be your experience. So just choose that this will be something that's powerful for you, and that will be the reflection that you get. That will be the power you get out of it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Share it if you found it of value. And as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. All right, peace, much love, namaste. All right, bye.